guys, here's a quick video review of MP28 Hot Rod. He is due out on the 25th of this month. TF Source got a sample and loaned it to me to review. So let's take a look at him. First off, here he is in car mode, obviously. And just a real quick size comparison, here he is with Classics Hot Rod. He's a little longer if you line them both up back. His fin extends a little bit more out the rear. And here he is with DX9's Carry. So not quite in scale with Carry, but Carry is one of those weird ones that makes a really big robot, but really compacts down for vehicle mode. So he's kind of hard to scale with just about anything, especially in vehicle mode. But yeah, there he is with a couple other various Hot Rod toys. With Classics, probably a better size comparison for vehicle mode. I don't have MP9. I sold him off years ago, like maybe not years ago, but like long before they had announced that there was a Hot Rod coming. So apologies, I won't have him to compare to, but we have some other MPs that we'll show off in robot mode. But just to give you an idea of his general size there. He rolls a lot. There was some issue with the Chinese review, I guess, where it didn't look like he rolled. You can see his wheel spinning. He's got the little lines across his wheel. And he does roll. It's a very thin clearance, because if you look at it, there's two things here that can catch him up. His collar piece, you can see that gives just a little bit of clearance for the wheel, and his legs back here. And the legs are not an issue if you make sure that they're plugged all the way up in to the body. Like a lot of times they will like to, see if I can get them down here actually now. They like to sit a little low like that, and if they're not sitting low, you'll see that this little ankle piece will hit right around the wheels, and it'll keep them from rolling. But on the back of the legs, right here, there's two little slots right here, and there's two little tabs up here inside the car mode. So as long as you got everything collapsed properly, you can line those up, and you just kind of stick your fingers under here, make sure those push up and lock all the way, like that, and he should roll just fine. So yeah, just FYI. Now, otherwise in vehicle mode, there's not really a whole lot of features. He's just a car. He's a really nice looking car, and look at how slim that profile is. He's just a little fast little wedge. A really sleek looking car design. I love the alt mode on this guy. His engine here, the silver part is on a hinge, does flip up like this, and he comes with two pistols, rifles, guns, however you want to say it. Handle folded down for robot mode, and on both of them the handle can fold up to expose a peg. Those you can peg one of them here under the engine if you wish. Either one will fit. Or there's two spring-loaded covers back here, much like on earlier MPs. You can plug them in here if you wish, and leave the engine down. The head, chest piece, and engine are all on the same hinge, so sometimes if you push that back down, it'll want to push his head down and unpeg this. So like I said, as long as you make sure this orange piece is pegged properly into this piece right here, and the legs are pegged up, you shouldn't have any trouble getting him to roll. But there he is with the guns. Also with the head, you want to be careful when you're folding it up, because sometimes when you're folding it up and pushing everything into place, it'll like to go up here under this part of the matrix chamber here, and as you can see, that has chipped a little bit of the gray paint on his forehead. And you have to watch it, because you're following the transformation instructions, and when you're just folding this around, that'll slide up right up under there, and it'll chip that paint. So do be careful. But yeah, you can open up his hood. It's on kind of like I said, an extending hinge. There's a hinge right here and a hinge down here in the body, because it kind of, you can see if I close it like that, it's off to the side, because it kind of, the actual hinge kind of slides to the side and sits down there. So when you first open it up, it'll come right up. You can open it up just like that, but it does kind of come up and out and over to the side to open it up. And there's the matrix slot. And it's just kind of a hollow piece. If you leave that open normally, it's more closed up in robot mode. But you can fit the matrix from MP10 in there, if you wish, in car mode. You can close that up. It is visible under the car because of the hole there. But it doesn't affect its rolling performance. It's actually high enough up that it's not going to cause any clearance issues with the wheel. And you can leave it in through the entire transformation. I'm going to take it out just to stick it back in robot mode. But you can leave that in throughout the entire transformation if you wish. All right, and going to robot mode. I'm going to start off down here with the arms. You do the whole like upper body first, and then the legs because they're fairly simple. So you take the arm pieces right here, this center section, and you unpeg them from the hood here, and bend them right here at the elbow. You know, bring those down just like this. Just like that, and you kind of tilt the shoulder pieces in. And you got to unpeg these orange pieces from right here in front of the hood. You can see the little tabs there. And then the whole assembly rotates up like this, and you want to make sure that this little tab right here goes right here into this slot above the waist. That tab, that slot. Lock that in. Open up the, I guess he's already out. Sometimes the, I guess we go that way. So rotate that around in there, down like that. The arms are on a dual hinge here. You can see the two pins right there on the shoulder. This pin needs to come out and around that other pin. So you pull this out just like that. And same on the other side. So open those up. These two panels right here, we'll open up a little wide, and these two panels on the side of the hood fold back into the body just like that. And then you can fold these two side panels down here next to his head. And then this whole engine assembly, not just the silver piece, the whole engine assembly folds down into his chest. And you can see that kind of snaps in and locks into place, pops the head up into the proper position, and there you go. The arms come down here like this. And on the shoulder pieces, you can see there is some sculpted detail here. If you want to have more of a toy look, especially more of a classics Rodimus look, some of that detail is there. You can have them with the wheels facing forward. Total personal preference. But the instructions actually show you rotate the whole arm and shoulder piece around for the animation look. Just like that. And then you come out here, open these little panels, and sometimes getting his fists out can be a little tough, but you rotate the fist out, and then you rotate the whole arm, again at the bicep swivel, and there's an arm done. Same with this side. Push this out. And this little peg right here, and we'll show it off again later, but that little peg right there, you fold the arm in, and that's what allows the spinning blade to attach to his arm. We'll show it off again in robot mode, but just for right now. Yeah, push that, flip his hand out, close the panel, rotate it right here, and there you go. And then unpeg the legs. If they haven't already come loose, they do like to come untabbed. Lift this whole assembly up, fold in the two orange pieces, and then these pieces are actually tabbed onto the side here, so you want to untab them like this. You can see that little tab right there. So untab these, and then rotate them all the way inside this piece, and then this piece unlocks here and then rotates on this strut here around that to come up in like this. And when you push this together, it opens, and you can see it pops up these little vents on his back. These are closed in vehicle mode, and once you fold this in and collapse the backpack, it opens up these little vents here on his back. And then actually what's easier to do, you can do it like this, but it's easier about halfway through. You can see there's a tab here and a slot here. When you got this halfway, go ahead and tab this on now. The instructions, I think, show it tabbing together after you've got it all folded up, but it's much easier to get that tab to stay on securely if you do it halfway through this process. But you rotate this around, and then there's two tabs here on the bottom that are going to tab into slots here on the back of his waist. So make sure that comes up, tab those in, and then rotate his spoiler around, just like that. And then the arms themselves have two tabs here that tab into the side of the windscreen here in his backpack. So bring these back and tab those all the way in. So the whole backpack assembly is actually really pegged in nice and tight. There's no loose bits. It's all nice and solid. You can hold them by the backpack and shake them. Like I said, those bottom tabs came out, but that was after some vigorous shaking. But it all stays together very well. For the legs, well, lift up this panel because you're going to need to move these little kneecap pieces past it. So lift up the front waist, split the legs, and then on the outside of each leg, there's a little groove here to get your finger in. And pop open those panels, and these work just like the Combiner Wars legs. You just kind of pull them out, bring the knee up to the leg, snap it in place, and then that slot that tabbed into the back of the car, this tab on this panel pegs into that. So bring that whole thing up. Snap it in up here, close that, and then it's just a matter of flipping the foot forward and flipping out the heel. Flatten that out. Stand him up, flip this down, and it's just a matter of positioning him. And there he is in robot mode, with his head off the screen, but we'll fix that. So yeah, there he is. He comes with, like I said, he comes with his two guns. Go ahead and flip these back down into handles, which can go in his wrists, or in his fists. Just kind of slide them in, peg him in, wrap his hand around it. And he can hold both of his guns. He can, as I mentioned earlier, you can flip in, if you fold up one of his fists. I want to make sure those go in straight because, like I said, they can be a pain to get out. And you can attach his little spinning saw blade, which is a little larger in proportion to him than it should be, but hey, you know. Yeah, so there's that. Pop his wrist out. And he also comes with, of course, his fishing rod, which is upside down. Like I'm pretty sure, like, well, not really upside down. You could do it like this, but it's bent the wrong way. And like I said, I thought maybe this got bent in shipping, but the pictures on the instructions also show it having a slight curve this way. But the line and the reel should be on top of the rod. You could heat this up and bend it back this way if you wanted to, for it to be more accurate. But he comes with his fishing rod, and it is possible. I had some poses the other day, like a lot of the pictures showed him sitting with like the arms detached to hold the fishing rod. And if you wanted both of his hands dead in front of his body, like one over the other, holding his fishing rod straight up and down, you do kind of have to pull those shoulders. But it is entirely possible to like stick this in his hand. The thicker part is what stays in his hand. You can have him holding it in his hand. Oh, come on, I just want to get it, there we go, about the middle. And holding on to the reel at the same time, just by using the bicep swivels and all that stuff. And then after that, you can just kind of adjust it. Obviously now it's bent the wrong way using it this way, but you can have him hold the reel and the rod at the same time. So he can sit, or you can have him, like I said, his hips rotate forward both there and at the actual hip, so you can have him in a sitting position, fishing on the edge of the desk or something like that. He's very posable. He's got a lot of, and we'll get to the posability here in just a second. And the last gimmick, of course, is, again, you can open up his chest. You can kind of see his engine sitting there inside of his chest. If you want to pretend that's a spark chamber, you can. But the Matrix from MP10 does sit fairly securely in there. Like it's a little difficult. If you clip it in, it's a little difficult to get it out. Oh, well, now it just falls out. The first time I had that in there, it wanted to clip in and not come out very easily. But it does sit in there securely, even with the chest open. It's got a little lip down here, so the weight of the Matrix holds itself in. But he can have MP10's Matrix in his chest, and you can close that up. So posability-wise, he's got... Oh, and his last little gimmick, I forgot to show this off. You open up his helmet, and inside here is a little visor that flips up and around, comes down over his face. You close the helmet over, and he's got his little visor. They could stand to be a little darker, and same with the windscreen. They do both have a bluish tint to it, but it would be nice if it were a little darker blue just to make it stand out a little bit more when you've got them out, or just to kind of hide the insides of car mode a little bit. But yeah, so he's got that little visor gimmick as well. And so yeah, posability. He can look up and down. He's got a neck, and obviously side to side, so he's got up and down, side to side on his neck. His shoulders rotate out like this, rotate forward and back like that. There's that rotational joint right there, as well as the bicep swivel. He's got dual hinged elbows both down here and up here, so you can get some good arm flex going on. He needs to be in focus now that I've backed him away from the camera. He does have a waist swivel. He does have a wrist swivel. And as you saw, his fingers are all one piece, but they do open and close. So let's see if you can hold the matrix. All right, his fingers are look like they're probably a little too small to really, you can't really have him grip the matrix like that. Can't get his fingers all the way through it, but you can have him supported in his hand. So yeah, waist swivel. Each side of the hip has a flap. Like there's back flaps, side flaps, front flaps, so you can get a really wide range of motion out of his legs, both forward, back, and to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, as well as you got that extra hip articulation right here. So pretty good there. Thigh swivel, dual knees up here and up here. He does have some ankle tilt. It's not a lot, mostly because his feet get caught up in these boots, but you can, if you bring them forward, they've got a pretty decent range. And have to put him in non-ridiculous poses. If you're trying to make him pull off a Trinity from the Matrix, he might have a little bit of an issue supporting himself. But for the most part, he can support himself with flat feet in a lot of standard poses. So yeah, there he is. Like I said, proportionally, like, he looks a lot better in hand than a lot of early pictures made him look. If you sit here and just stare at him for a few minutes, like, you'll start to notice, like, he does kind of have like an angular, like a straight angle down and then out again. And his shoulders could probably stand to be a little more compact into his body, just not have quite a broad of a chest, but it really isn't as nearly as bad in person as it looked in some of the early prototype pictures. Maybe that's because of the paint and the deco. We're not just looking at the stark gray. He could stand to be a little bit more curved here. He does have kind of a flat front, and you'll notice he does have a backpack. It's not as egregious, again, as it looked in pictures, but if you look at him directly from the side, it's a little bit of an eyesore. Although it really is directly from the side is the only time that it's really an issue. Like, slanted poses, straight from the back, I think he looks fine. Obviously from the front, he looks great. But if you look at him directly on from the side, he's a little backpack heavy. But yeah, pretty cool. And all that stuff, like I said, proportionally, like, I wish his shoulders were a little less broad. Wish his backpack was just a little more. But outside of that, he's a pretty decent looking figure. He's super posable. I'm very happy with him in hand. Also, somebody was asking about his head. Does it sit in front of his waist? And if you look at him, if you stand him up here, his head does sit slightly in front of the center of his waistline, but it's not off so far that, like, unless you have him looking at him directly from the side with his arms straight out in a zombie pose, it really doesn't look that bad. It's slightly more forward of where you would expect it to be on a standard human, but it's not so deviant from that center line that it looks ridiculous. And like I said, and with his arms down, you really don't even notice it. So yeah. Anyway, we'll leave you some quick size comparisons here, and we got plenty of stuff to compare him with. So since we showed him off at the beginning of the video, there he is with the Classics Rodimus. And you remember they were very similar, or very close in vehicle mode size, but you can see just how much bigger he is here in robot mode. We'll get him, and we'll bring in Carrie as well. who does not even fit on the screen here, so we'll have to back up a little bit. And there he is with DX9's carry. Again, I do not have MP09 to compare him with. So yeah, with MPs, here he is with Prowl. And he's a little taller than Prowl. I feel like they should be more of a similar height, but I'm okay with it. Like I said, I really like Hot Rod as a character. I think this is a good version of his figure. Prowl should, if anything, Prowl I think should be maybe a little taller. I feel like they're of a similar height, but again, that's just what they look like together. Here he is with Masterpiece Prime. And again, we're going to have to back up here a little bit to show off their heights, but I think that looks really good. That's a really nice scale there. Here he is with some other Season 3 guys. Here he is with Generations Voyager Springer. And I like their height together. Again, he's just a smidge taller than Springer, and Springer I feel should be a little taller than him, but they don't look bad together. They're on the shelf. Whoop, bumped the camera. Deluxe RC, who is much smaller. And really kind of not of a good scale there for him. And then here he is with the Daniel, or the Spike or Daniel, whichever one you want it to be, exosuit at any rate, that came with Masterpiece Bumblebee. So yeah, he's a really cool figure. Like I said, much better in hand than it originally looked. It looks much better in hand than some of the early promo pics that we saw of him. Much like I'm hearing about Ironhide. I don't have an Ironhide yet. I should be getting one soon, but yeah, I've heard Ironhide is actually much better in hand than some of the initial pictures made it look. And I feel the same is true here of Hot Rod. Again, thanks to TF Source for the loan. And if you want to get a quick look at his instruction sheet, it's just their standard Takara MP instruction sheet. He did not come with a bio card, so I could not, so I can't show that to you. But yeah, it's basic instruction sheet, nothing fancy. What you're used to: the fishing rod, the saw blade, and the 2 photon rifles. But yeah, all in all, definitely worth picking up. I'm super excited to have had a chance to check him out before he comes out later this month. But yeah, there he is, Masterpiece MP28 Hot Rodimus. Hot Rod as we know him in the States.